Yvette Serafina Lemaire, my father's voice cut through the air like glacial ice. He never used my middle name unless he was truly furious. You'd better have a good explanation for this. Circled in red ink on the front page was a photograph, Aidan Thorne and I standing side by side in the parking lot of the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, his hand resting on my shoulder at a maliciously angled shot that looked eerily like a prelude to a kiss. The headline blared like a slap in the face, Lemaire heiress caught in extramarital affair with indie director, prestigious marriage on the rocks. My husband, Theodore Vance, sat beside my father, the cuffs of his custom-tailored suit rolled back to reveal a Patek Philippe on his wrist. The Silicon Valley tycoon was known for his icy composure, but now he looked at me with a condescending pity, as if I were a valuable artifact stained beyond repair. Yvette, we've been married 3 years. I thought you knew better than this. That's not what happened. I shot to my feet, the chair scraping against the marble floor with a shrill screech. Aidan is my college classmate, his mother has pancreatic cancer. I was just meeting him at the hotel to support him after his doctor's appointment. Enough. My mother, Valerie, cut me off, her red-painted nails trembling despite her Chanel couture outfit. How could a Lemaire daughter meet a married man alone? What will the Vances think? What will Beverly Hills think? My throat constricted. That day, Aidan's mother had received devastating test results, and he'd been inconsolable. I'd been in the area for a work meeting and stopped by to comfort him, nothing more. It was clearly a malicious paparazzi shot, twisted into something unrecognizable. Mom, you know me. I'm not that kind of woman. Aidan's marriage has been over in all but name for years. We're just friends, nothing more. Friends? My brother Julian scoffed from across the table, his tone dripping with disdain. As the heir to Lemaire Group, he'd always looked down on everyone else. Friends who meet in hotel parking lots at 10 o'clock at night? Theodore has given you mansions, jewels, everything you could want. You're just greedy and ungrateful. His words struck like a dagger to the heart. Theodore and I had married for business, true, but we'd always treated each other with respect. I'd never strayed, not once. Julian, shut up. Someone's framing me. Framing you? My father let out a bitter laugh, tapping his knuckles against the table with a dull, rhythmic thud. Who would bother framing you? Unless you actually did something to deserve it. I looked around the table at my family, my father's rage, my mother's anxious fretting, my brother's sneering contempt, my husband's cold indifference. Their stares wove a suffocating net around me. Theodore, you have to believe me. We've been together 3 years, you know I'm not capable of this. Theodore fell silent for a moment, sipping his coffee slowly before speaking in a detached, almost clinical tone. Without proof, I can't defend you. This photo is everywhere. The Lemaires and Vances can't afford this kind of scandal. Proof? I laughed through my tears. The hotel security cameras will show we were just talking. I can get the footage, get Aidan to testify. Enough. My mother stood up abruptly, her voice rising to a shrill pitch. Do you want to drag Aidan's wife into this too? Turn our entire family into a laughingstock? Yvette, you're being selfish. What do you want from me? My voice cracked with despair. My father stepped toward me, his towering figure looming over me as he spoke. Kneel. Apologize to Theodore, apologize to all of us, and promise never to see Aidan again. We'll have the PR team bury this, call it a misunderstanding. Kneel? My blood ran cold. Father, you want me to apologize for a crime I didn't commit? For the sake of the family and your marriage, it's a small price to pay. My mother grabbed my arm, her grip so tight it felt like she might break my bones. After you apologize, everything can go back to normal. Normal? I wrenched my arm free, tears blurring my vision. If I kneel, I'm admitting guilt. I'll never be able to hold my head up again. You have no choice. Julian blocked my path, his face contorted with rage. If you don't apologize, the partnership between Lemaire and Vance will collapse. 3 major investors are on the fence. Do you want to bankrupt our family? My father raised his hand, and I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing for the slap. But instead, I heard his voice, cold and final, last chance. Will you kneel, or not? I shook my head, tears streaming down my face. I didn't do anything wrong. Why won't you believe me? Believe you? My mother wept into her handkerchief. The photo is clear as day. You've disappointed us all. Theodore stood up, adjusting his suit jacket with a calm, deliberate motion. If you refuse to apologize, we're getting a divorce. And I'll be suing Lemaire Group for damages to my reputation. Divorce? Damages? I stared at the man who had once promised to protect me, and felt nothing but strangers. He'd never cared about me, only his own reputation and wealth. Fine. I'll kneel. My voice was eerily calm, as if I were speaking about someone else's life. Slowly, I lowered myself to my knees, the cold marble seeping through the thin carpet, sending a chill up my spine. I'm sorry, my voice trembled as I spoke the words that cut like a knife, for meeting Aiden alone. For causing this misunderstanding. I promise I'll never see him again. I kept my head bowed, hot tears dripping onto the carpet and leaving dark stains. My mother reached down to help me up, but I stayed where I was, my dignity shattered into a million pieces. In that moment, I realized, when faced with family honor and profit, my innocence meant absolutely nothing. At Theodore's flat, impatient urging, I slowly stood up, straightened my back, and walked up the stairs without glancing back at any of them. Once in my bedroom, I locked the door and slid down to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. I opened my phone, and was immediately bombarded with headlines: marital betrayal, mansion scandal, socialite shame. The comments sections were filled with insults and accusations. I threw my phone aside, curled up in bed, and listened to the sound of my own heart breaking in the darkness. The next morning, our housekeeper, Martha, brought me breakfast, telling me my family was waiting downstairs. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back, puffy eyes, pale skin, empty eyes. When I went down, the PR director handed me a statement to sign, admitting the photo was a misleading angle. My father's tone brooked no argument: sign it. And don't leave the house or speak to any reporters. I held the pen in my hand, overcome with bitter irony, but I signed my name anyway. In the weeks that followed, I felt like a prisoner in my own home. Theodore moved into the guest room. My mother visited occasionally, but only to lecture me about behaving properly. My father and Julian ignored me completely. Julian had taken over my responsibilities at the company and made my life miserable, while my colleagues stared at me with judgmental eyes wherever I went. 2 weeks later, Aiden sent me a text asking if I was okay. I stared at it for a long time before deleting it without replying. While going through old photos, I found one from a family vacation in Hawaii, little me sitting on my father's shoulders, my mother brushing my hair gently, Julian grinning as he handed me a lollipop. The warmth of that memory felt like a cruel joke compared to the cold betrayal I felt now. A month later, I ran into Aiden on the street. He looked exhausted, his eyes filled with guilt. I'm so sorry, Yvette. This is all my fault. I've gotten divorced, and I'm leaving Los Angeles. He pressed a USB drive into my hand. I had a private investigator look into things. There's something fishy about that photo. I clutched the drive tightly and hurried to my car, plugging it in immediately. What I saw made my blood run cold: bank transfer records showing Julian had paid a freelance journalist from the Los Angeles Times $50,000 3 days before the photo was published. The accompanying email read, "Make sure the angle looks compromising. emphasized that extramarital affair. Even more devastating was an email from Julian to Theodore. Yvette owns shares in the overseas branch. If we ruin her reputation, she'll have no choice but to sign the divorce papers and forfeit everything. Then we can take over Vance's AI project. It was all Julian's plan. And Theodore had been in on it the whole time. Rage replaced my despair, and my eyes hardened with determination. I was going to get revenge. Over the next few months, I played along with their charade, while secretly gathering evidence. Using my connections at the company, I found the CFO of the overseas branch, who provided proof that Julian had embezzled $12 million and falsified financial records. I tracked down the freelance journalist and showed him the emails, explaining he was just a pawn in Julian's game. Terrified of being implicated, he agreed to testify against Julian. I asked Aiden to use his contacts in security to retrieve the original hotel footage, which showed he and I had only been together for 7 minutes and 20 seconds. His hand had been on my shoulder for 3 seconds at most. The entire time, he'd been crying, and I'd been comforting him. On the day of Lemaire Group's quarterly board meeting, Julian was planning to propose merging with Vance's AI project and have me removed from the company entirely. I arrived 10 minutes late, pushed open the boardroom doors, and walked straight to the front, connecting my laptop to the projector. Yvette, this isn't your place. Julian scowled, trying to dismiss me. Actually, it is. My voice was calm but unyielding. Today, I'm going to show all of you the truth about that extramarital affair, and the real face of Lemaire Group's heir. I pressed play, and the original hotel footage appeared on the screen, complete with timestamps and audio that destroyed Julian's lies completely. The boardroom erupted in chaos. Julian tried to stay calm, but his voice trembled as he spoke. It's just a misleading angle. Is it? I pulled up the bank transfers and emails on the screen. Or maybe we should ask this journalist to explain. The journalist walked in, his face ashen with fear. Julian Lemaire paid me $50,000 to stake out the hotel and take photos of him and Ms. Lemaire. He told me to make the angle look like they were having an affair, and to make sure the headline emphasized the cheating. That's a lie. Julian shouted, his face turning bright red with anger. Is it? I pulled up the financial reports. Then why does this show you embezzling $12 million from the company? The CFO has already signed off on these documents, and they're ready to be submitted to the FBI. Julian collapsed into his chair, sobbing in despair. My father's body shook violently with shock. My mother covered her mouth with her hands, tears streaming down her face as regret filled her eyes. Theodore sat rigid in his seat, his face a deathly shade of pale, unable to say a word. The board members were furious, demanding Julian be punished and the merger with Vance be cancelled immediately. Some even suggested re-evaluating the line of succession, stating that someone so greedy and unscrupulous didn't deserve to lead the company. I walked over to my father, my voice steady. I never wanted to fight for control of the company or destroy our family. But I won't stand by while someone uses underhanded tactics to hurt me and damage the company's reputation. I turned to my mother. Real honor isn't about covering up mistakes or sacrificing innocent people. It's about doing what's right, even when it's hard. My mother reached out to touch my hand, but I pulled away gently. Some wounds could never be healed. I'm also here to announce 2 things, I said, pulling out divorce papers and a share transfer form. First, I'm filing for divorce from Theodore. Our marriage ended the day he decided to help Julian frame me. Second, I'm giving up all my shares in Lemaire Group. But I'm demanding $5 million in compensation from Julian and Theodore for defamation and emotional distress. Every penny will go to pancreatic cancer research and support groups. Theodore's voice was desperate as he spoke. Yvette, please. Can't we talk about this? There's nothing left to say. My tone was firm. I don't want your money or your power. I just wanted the truth to come out, and for justice to be done. And now it has. I turned and walked out of the boardroom, with Aiden waiting for me at the door, his eyes filled with pride and support. As I stepped into the sunlight, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The kneel at the mahogany table had been the most humiliating moment of my life, but it had also woken me up. I could only rely on myself to defend my honor and my innocence. In the end, Julian was convicted of embezzlement, fraud, and defamation, and sentenced to 10 years in prison. Theodore's reputation was destroyed, his company collapsed, and he left Los Angeles shortly after, never to be heard from again. My mother cried every day, bringing me home-cooked meals and begging for forgiveness. My father tried to make amends too, offering me a senior position at the company and even transferring some of his assets into my name. But I refused them all. Broken trust, like a shattered mirror, could never be made whole again. I used the $5 million compensation to start the Beacon of Justice Foundation, which helps people who have been victims of online harassment, workplace discrimination, and false accusations. In our first year alone, we helped 27 people clear their names, including a young professional wrongfully accused of theft by a colleague, a woman driven out of her community by false rumors, and an elderly man framed by his relatives for inheritance fraud. Every time I saw the relief and gratitude on their faces, I knew my own pain had not been in vain. Aiden eventually returned to Los Angeles and resumed his career as a director. His documentary, Silent Screams, which focused on the trauma of online harassment and false accusations, won several international awards. It was inspired by our experiences. We never became romantically involved, but we remained the closest of friends, supporting each other through thick and thin. He accompanied me to foundation events, and I listened to him talk through his creative struggles late into the night. 3 years later, I met Elias at a charity forum hosted by the foundation. He was a human rights lawyer with a kind smile and a passionate commitment to justice. He told me he'd been following the foundation's work for a long time, and had been deeply moved by my courage in fighting back against injustice. We shared the same values, believing that justice might be delayed, but it should never be denied, and a desire to help those who couldn't defend themselves. Our relationship was never about grand gestures or material things, just quiet, steady companionship and mutual respect. He remembered that I hated cilantro, brought me hot coffee when I worked late, and held me gently whenever memories of the past threatened to overwhelm me. "Your bravery is more beautiful than any mansion or diamond," he would say. A year later, we got married in a sunflower field surrounded by friends, foundation beneficiaries, and loved ones. No fancy venue, no press, just people who cared about us. As Elias held my hand and spoke his vows, his voice filled with love, I felt a sense of peace I'd never known before. "Yvette, you once walked through darkness alone," he said. "Now I want to be your light forever, standing by your side as we fight for justice and kindness together." As I looked at my husband, at the smiling faces around me, I thought back to that terrible afternoon at the mahogany table. I'd thought then that I'd never recover from the betrayal of my family, that I'd never be happy again. But now I understood, happiness isn't something that's given to you, it's something you fight for. It's the courage to seek truth in the face of injustice, the strength to choose kindness over bitterness after being hurt, and the freedom to break free from the expectations of others and live life on your own terms. As the sun set over the sunflower field, casting a warm glow over everything, I felt a deep sense of gratitude. The pain and betrayal of the past had become badges of strength, teaching me to cherish the love and peace I had now. I realized that the most precious things in life aren't wealth or status, but the courage to stay true to yourself after facing adversity, the commitment to fight for justice no matter the cost, and the freedom to live as the person you were always meant to be. True happiness isn't found in meeting others' expectations, it's found in making your own choices, standing by your values, and embracing the love and joy that comes from living authentically. It's the rebirth after breaking free from chains, the fulfillment of helping others, and the peace of sharing your life with someone who sees and loves you for who you truly are. This is the happiness I fought for, hard-won, genuine, and hotter than any gold or glory the world could offer. It's a happiness built on truth, resilience, and kindness, a happiness that no one can ever take away.